Welcome back to Cruising Off Duty, and as you know, Janice and I have been checking out catamarans, looking towards the future. And this year, we've only done episodes where we've gotten a guided tour by a knowledgeable salesperson that can give us all the features. Then we go home, we review the footage, and then we give you our pros and cons of each boat at the very end of the episode. This episode, we're going to be doing the Privilege 500, which is a 50-foot boat from a company we've heard nothing but good things about. Here's what we said right before we went on board.
Hi, and welcome back to Cruising Off Duty. We are on our final day here at the Annapolis Sailboat Show. We look pretty tired. It's a lot of walking. So
we're on the artificial eye opener.
Yeah, her eyes look bigger and brighter because of that. I don't have that ability. But we're about to see the Privilege 51 or 510, I guess they call it. We've never been on a Privilege, or we've never filmed a Privilege. I think we've been on one.
Yeah, years ago.
Years ago, before we started filming these. Yeah. And it's very unique. A lot of people are interested in this boat, and we're going to get a guided tour of this boat. We don't know what to expect. We've heard some good things, so stay tuned.
Weigh anchor and hoist the sail.
Okay, this is Rob Poirier, and he's going to take us on this guided tour of this Privilege 51. So show us all the features and what a person can look forward to in a boat like this.
Of course, before we start the features, I'm going to basically emphasize the things that we think are the strengths of the boat, which is the fact that this is a true live-aboard circumnavigation class boat.
Right.
So obviously, I always talk about the three things that matter most on live-aboard. And let's start with the first one, weather protection. You don't have a boat that offers really intelligent weather protection, it's going to undermine your whole project of live-aboard. So let's start at the helm. Okay. So the helm on this Privilege, and let me start by saying that this is a Privilege 500, which is a transition model between the former 5 Series and the upcoming 510. The first 510 will be splashed in December. Okay. And we're very proud here at Privilege Catamarans America to have participated in the development of that actual product. So we took a first-hand approach to changes we've made in the boat. And I'll point out those changes because it's not a revolution in changes, it's an evolution.
Okay, so I'm mistaken. This is a 50 and the 51's coming out soon.
And at the 510, it's still 50 foot. The name is confusing.
Okay.
I know, it's a 510. All right. So first of all, at the helm, like the rest of the cockpit, there is full weather enclosure. And on the new boat, this windshield will be improved. It will be safety glass, and there'll be absolutely no gaps like this. It'll be completely watertight.
Okay.
The other nice thing about this helm, again for the cruising couple, is all lines lead here. I've got full line management. I can put 3 reefs in the main. I can furl the sail, the head sails, so I can do everything here. And everything's electric. You'll see your travelers powered from the electric winch here, the main sheet here as well. So again, everything's designed to be managed right from here. This is pretty normal for us too, to equip the boat with twin plotters. I'm a big believer in twin plotters. I've spent a lot of time cruising tight waterways where it's so, you're going to want a quarter-mile perspective in those tight, narrow passages. But if you're going to that 4th island down the way, it's nice to also have the 5-mile perspective at the same time.
Right.
So anybody I've ever built a boat for that had the twin plotters has become an advocate as well.
Right.
The other thing that I always point out about in helms in general and catamarans, and I say whatever boat you're buying, I want to be able to see all 4 corners of my boat from that helm. If I can't see aft, if I can't see one of those corners, as a couple docking a boat in a tight marina in current and wind, it's going to be very stressful. Somebody just pointed out to me about this boat, a feature that I took for granted, because I've docked this boat twice myself. It's also dangerous to have a helm where you as a helmsperson have to travel to get to the side deck. Because as a couple, you're going to be helping out with docking the boat and taking lines. Yeah. So if you have to go down steps or run around structure, that could be dangerous. So with a boat like this, as you probably know, catamarans are docked with their engines alone. So the engine controls are, here on the port side, and I'm able to easily step away from the helm here. So again, the last 2 times I docked the boat alone, I'm able to basically bring the boat to the dock. I've got my lines ready. I step away, I hand the line to the line tender I've got on the dock, step back to the controls, get control of the boat, and then go forward once the line is tied off here. Right. So this is a very friendly boat for being able to dock the boat by yourself, even though again, so I've already pointed out one of the changes in the new boat. The other change, and I'm not promoting it, it's just what's going to be different. The newer boat was really designed to give us more brightness in the salon living area. So the deck is a bit taller. So, but because we built an entirely new deck piece for this boat, we also lowered the hatches, so you got flush hatches.
Okay.
I know a lot of people love that because they, stub
Aesthetically,
their toes.
and yeah.
Aesthetically and toe stubbing.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily promoting it because I personally never had to replace a flush hatch.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be a maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Should be fine. I mean,
Should be
it's
fine.
all going to be good. It's all good. And one of the stats that I found fascinating, I learned years ago, was that people who liveaboard and or passage making, for every day at sail, will spend between 20 and 27 days at anchor.
Right. That's what we've always advocated. You're going to be 90% of the time anchoring.
So I would say to
on-
people, even before you care about the sail, look at the anchor.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be anchored 20 times more than you're going to be sailing.
Right, yeah.
So one of the things we've done, first of all, the boat has a fantastic anchoring setup right from the beginning. We didn't have to change very much on the boat about this, but the anchor lockers are super deep. So one of the complaints on many boats, and one of the complaints on a boat I built myself for years, a boat you guys know well, is anchor stacking is a royal pain in the neck. Whereas this anchor locker is so blasted deep
Right.
that you just, sometimes you don't even look, you just don't even bother to look because
Right.
you just don't worry about what the chain is doing. So you've got foot controls, remote controls. I also put a control at the helm. There's a lot of single handing going on these days, so it's nice to have controls at the helm. But one of the major changes that we've made to the boat is we've changed the location of the bridle connection. So now the boat bridle connections are at the water line. That really matters because if you look at almost every catamaran in the show, they're tying the bridle lines right at the bridge deck. I mean, they're right there under the crossbeam.
Yeah.
So you got a very aggressive angle on the anchor. So by putting that down to the water line, your bridle actually triangulates underwater. So in a heavy blow, you've got this very positive, bite with the anchor. Right. So it's a much better system. Put a good anchor on there, Ultra or Rockna or something, and you'll have the best anchoring system possible. Obviously, having access to your rigging is pretty important, right? So Privilege is an interesting company. It's a fairly substantial boatyard, as you know. We build a 50-footer, a 58-footer, a 64-footer, a 75-footer. Yeah. So there's a lot of capacity there, which is really nice. So it also, what it does is it allows us to be a rare thing these days. It's a truly semi-custom boatyard. A lot of people say semi-custom. I've said semi-custom in the back, but now that I've been working with Privilege for a couple of years, I know what semi-custom means. We've got a complete design group in-house. And you wouldn't believe the changes we've made. I could walk you on a 50-footer. I could line 3 of the last boats we built together side by side. And you could go in, if you weren't standing outside, you were just inside the boat, you wouldn't even know you're on the same boat. It can be so dramatically different. And so with rigging, we can do anything, but I'm a big fan of this setup. This is a Park Avenue boom. So because again, we'll build a boat with an in-boom furling, in-mast furling, whatever you want. But I caution people that are planning long passages that a setup like this, 3 reefs, canoe boom like this, easy to douse the sail, much more reliable than going through the mechanical machinations of a furling boom system. Again, there are people that have the patience to really figure it out, get their vangs set up properly, make all their marks and their lines until they've figured it all out. But a lot of people go through pain. And if you're going to be sailing to distant locations, pretty smart to have robust, reliable systems on the boat.
That's simple and it doesn't have any ability to. We have in boom or in mast furling, and we would never do that again.
Never, and it makes me not want anything to do with in boom either.
Because
issues.
You could still have binding and problems and issues, and if you don't just get to drop your sail right into a sail bag, it's got to be all wound.
I mean, over 20 years, I've customers who've absolutely detested it. I've had others who said you'd be crazy not to have it. So I'm always trying to. Advice I'm giving is always based on the fact that I've been building liveaboard catamarans for forever now, like I said, for 20 years. And so I've learned, I've had so many clients circumnavigate at this point that I almost hear their voices when I'm talking to people because, myself, in all fairness, I've never lived on a boat. The longest I stayed on a boat uninterrupted was about 8 months. That's not the same as 8 years or even 3 years. You know what I mean? So I really try to learn from that background of clients. And at the end of the day, from all that experience, this is still ultimately your best setup, something like this. What Privilege has done is set this up so that with the extended hard top, of course, if I do have any issues, and I'm going to have issues with my rigging, getting up here super easy. I can get up here and I can get to everything so easily. So if I have to manage something, I can go anywhere on the boat effortlessly. you know. So it's a steel gem.
There's plenty of room for solar then.
Yeah,
too.
there's plenty of room for lots of solar.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very opinionated on solar because one of my best friends is literally an international authority on, you know, solar systems and electrical management. And it's funny, I don't want to get into this too much for you guys now, but we'll do whatever you want with solar. We've built pure electric boats, you know, we've built a torpedo boat. We've got boats that look like it's just a floating solar panel farm. But at the end of the day, no matter how much solar you've got on a boat, I try to caution people, and I'm speaking on behalf of, I've even got a client who's a Commodore, he manages a fleet of 11 submarines for the United States Navy.
Really?
And he'll tell you, you know, you need to run a generator every day.
Yeah.
So the minute you understand that you have to run a generator every day,
Yeah.
we're in a marketplace right now that I caution people that there's a lot of people saying, I'm doing everything possible to avoid ever turning on my generator.
Yeah.
Well, some of these experts on there will tell you, well, they're literally shooting themselves in the foot. Because if you don't run that generator for a couple of hours a day loaded, its failure rate goes up exponentially and its lifespan diminishes. So you're literally undermining a fundamental, you know, underpinning of this whole system by trying to avoid using it.
Right.
So there's a good, solar panels are great. I'm a big advocate for at least 800 watts.
Right.
But I'm also an advocate for understanding and loving, embracing your generator.
Yeah.
You know, for successful long-term cruising, it's going to be important.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, like I said, on the Exquisite, I went across the Atlantic on the solar was there, but we still, before bed, would make sure that batteries were topped up, but throwing the generator on for an hour or so.
Well, that's the point I make. A lot of people are under the misconception that they can literally eliminate the use of that device.
Yeah, that's just not
and
realistic.
As the guy who runs all this fleet, think about it, he runs a fleet of 11 nuclear submarines.
Yeah.
I mean, billions of dollars of research.
Yeah.
And he makes his technical teams load up and run the generators every day. I might admit I'm a bit of a history buff, and I love the history of privilege, right? And why the boats are so substantial has a lot to do with the guy who started the company. So Jean-Philippe Nateau twice owned the solar around the world record.
Okay.
Okay? So the guy who founded this company was like the most successful sailor in the world at one time. But when it came time to sail his family around the world, he engaged an architect named Mark Lombard, who still designed the current boat and designed the new 510, and said, look, for my family, I don't want a performance boat, I want a safe boat that sails well and is extremely safe. And that is what Privilege's legacy, and that's its history, and it has stuck to that. You know what I mean? It hasn't gotten away from that. So, you've got a number of opportunities here, what we could do. We've put the baby stay on the boat, but we haven't put a jib on. Because this is our demo boat, there's not actually an owner for the boat. So we want to leave some flexibility for the eventual owner of this boat to do what they want. So the normal setup would always have a furling genoa here, an electric furler.
Okay.
And we also do a screecher. Big fan of screechers. One of the reasons why this setup works so well is downwind, you just don't need a spinnaker on a boat like this. I mean, if you like spinnakers, fantastic. But if you just like to be able to sail well downwind as a couple, wing on wing, douse the main, you know, put out the sails, and it's fantastic. Easier to adjust than a spinnaker. You know, you can reduce sail as winds rise and expand otherwise. So that's a normal setup. You can also set on an electric furler here a jib. The boat is rigged such that with the third reef in, you can use the jib, the storm jib, for security. The downside of a baby stay here, if you want this option, is that it makes tacking difficult. You have to furl the genoa to do a tack.
Right.
It's a trade-off.
Right.
I mean, your audience knows already that catamarans lose masts. Unlike monohulls that spill, cats put their shoulder into the wind.
Right.
And so, again, going back to that legacy of building a very safe, robust boat, having this backup stay here is a pretty nice thing to have if you're sailing around the world.
Right.
The next feature on this boat I want to talk about, because to me it's really one of my favorite features. The previous boats I've been involved with, unfortunately, had davits. And davits is something I've always confessed undermine one of the joys of owning a substantial boat like this catamaran. And that is, if you talk to long-term liveaboards, the Dinghy is like, people will tell you it's everything. You know, your fellow YouTubers like this, Keith and Renee on Zatara, as they'll tell you, when they got their big dinghy, their world changed. That water skiing with the kids, playing. and I've heard this for years. I've had people put dinghies way too heavy on their boats, and there's been slight catastrophes because of that. So what I used to say, and it was true about boats I've built in the past, is our davits are strong, they'll never break. But here's the problem: when you dangle a dinghy off the back of a boat, it doesn't have to be the davits that break. Fittings inside the dinghy itself can break. You're in a heavy storm for enough days, the pounding will the metal fatigue factor. And I've been involved in 3 cases where dinghies came free, and it's dramatic. So with this boat in particular, my favorite first feature was how the davit system works, because we don't have davits. We have a crane.
Right. Okay, let's go check it out.
So the setup here is, again, we have a variety of setups that can be done on this boat, but this is by far my favorite. Because basically, you can see these support pieces swing out, and then there's adjustable brackets on them, so they adjust to your dinghy configuration. But how this all works is this portion of this frame tilts out on one power drive. And then, of course, you've got the davit lines themselves that are controlled all with the same remote. So you basically lift the dinghy up, tilt the whole apparatus in, and then rest the dinghy on the deck of the boat on these brackets.
Right.
So no matter what weight, there's actually, one of our owners actually bought one of those Williams. You ever seen those stupid things?
No.
They're amazing. They're like rocket ships on they have a Rotex engine, a good Canadian, Bombardier engine.
Right.
And the things are rocket ships, but they weigh a freaking ton.
Yeah.
No catamaran builder in the world would have ever imagined a boat this size would be carrying on a Williams on it.
Right.
But the fact is, with this, you could do whatever you want.
It's right on the deck.
That's right, it's right on the deck. So now go offshore, get caught in the worst hurricane possible. You've got a lot to worry about, but your dinghy won't be one of those things you're worried about.
And that is important, and that's what
It
Janice and I
is.
said. If you're going to live on your boat, your dinghy is your car.
Yes.
This is your house, that's your car, that's how you get around.
It
So you
is.
want something substantial. You want something that's probably center steering, but those things weigh more weight. And like you
they
said, if you're
do.
dangling it off of davits, it's going to be
it's
precarious, let's just say that.
But for the liveaboard, this is the most tangible feature that will make living aboard nicer on a boat like this one. Because again, you have that ability. And we talked earlier about how much time you spend on the anchor versus that sail. So that dinghy does become the boat you use more than the boat.
Yeah.
And this is why I've been here for 20 years. I want the biggest dinghy from the experienced people. And meanwhile, you got a lot of boats that rightfully the owners are going really light, because they should. Because they don't want to put themselves at risk. And yet they're out there in this wet dinghy, driving 40 miles to the closest grocery store where, Anchorage is over here, but the place they want to visit is 40 miles this way, and it's a nightmare. So this is a really beautiful feature. I don't want to show you the engine rooms, but I'm going to. Okay? Because this boat, being our demo, had to get ordered with sail drives. At the time, it was all that was available to us, because they hadn't done any retooling for the new 510 in the boat the way we wanted to build it. And we needed a demo in a hurry, so we ordered this boat like 2 years ago. Right. So I'm going to open this engine room to show you. I hate sail drives. And
So what's the new boat going to have then?
It's got a
shaft drive? Okay.
Absolutely. Anybody who has done any serious long-term sailing, and anybody who's been in this business long enough, will tell you that sail drives are a nightmare. I'd be happy to do an entire video show with you on sail drives. So generator located here.
Yeah.
And of course, engine location here. The engine will be about 3 feet further forward than this. It's still very accessible, but that'll give us the room for the shore. The other thing you're going to notice is the controller box for our shore power system, which is very unusual in that if you look at it, it'll say power 240 and 120. 50 cycles and 60 cycles.
Yeah, universal boat then.
Our boat is wired to be able to plug into any shore power in the world, because it's a truly international boat. So one of the real strengths of Privilege, and it's one of the things I've always admired about the company, is Privilege is built in a town called Les Sables d'Olonne in France, which has been a fishing port for centuries. And so fishing fleets have been built there for years. So there's even a training school to teach people to work at building commercial boats. Pretty much all of the staff that works at Privilege building boats is trained to build commercial. So Privilege has just adopted that. All of our wiring and all of our plumbing systems are all commercial grade. The only builders still doing that. There was a time where others did, but we're the last ones doing it. So when you're building fishing fleet boats, they're also designed to plug in all over the world. So this access to this kind of knowledge is right there in-house, which is really, really nice. So let's talk about the cockpit a little bit. Obviously, the way this boat is designed is the cockpit is designed to feel as if the salon and the cockpit are one room. Right? No matter how big your boat is. It's actually, if this was actually a house, you'd be doing a tour of a mini home, right? So even a big boat is a mini home.
Yeah.
People forget that. So the boat has a super enclosure, one that's easy to put up and down. And so what happens is, especially when you close her up, the salon and the cockpit become one living room. It's really, really important. And by the way, we don't use snaps. If you've ever owned a boat with snaps for the enclosures of the canvas, it's a nightmare. It's all cinch straps, so it's much easier on the thumb. And your canvas obviously is looking really nice and tight. Yeah. Because you put it on loose and then you cinch it all up as you go around. It's really great. Let me show off this cool table. If you like to entertain, right where Craig is standing there, there's a filler piece.
Okay.
Put the filler piece in there. It's actually living right under there. And then you open the upper table. And now you've got seating for 8 to 10 people.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's fantastic. And you'll notice it doesn't run the traffic of the boat, and the galley's right there.
Yeah.
So it's a particularly nice boat to entertain.
That's a nice piece of
You know, if you talk to the designer of the boat, Montclair, he's a real old timer, and the boat was designed to go around the world. It's designed from day one to be a blue water boat. This feature alone is really kind of bothers him because there's been a lot of Europeans that bought this boat for the entertainment value. Which he says is fine, but that's not what the boat was built for. They want a boat for entertainment value. Buy one of the cheaper boats. Because buy this boat to sail, not because it's a great entertainment. But why not?
It's comfortable.
Yeah, it's
And
very
beautiful.
comfortable. Yeah, it's really wonderful. Little details, by the way. No, it might not seem like much, but a well-engineered boat should think about everything. And everything means how easy does the enclosure go up and down? How easy it is to get under a locker. If the cushion's in the way, I don't want to have to move a cushion. I want to get in there. The cushion's hinged so I can get in there. That's cool. So sometimes it's the smaller, less significant things that'll show you how much the builder is putting thought is going into what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so little ideas like the enclosure, these are the things that make a liveaboard boat more comfortable, right? Yeah. All right, so why don't we go inside? This is where the 510 will be much different than this boat.
Okay.
Because the ceiling has been raised, they've made these windows much bigger. That was the only thing as the boat, this design aged a bit, because this design came out in about 11 or 12. Not that that's old. I mean, as you know, there's a lot of good designs that have been around for nearly 20 years, but it's nice to refresh a boat. And again, when you're a company like Privilege and you've got those resources, use them to refresh the boat and update the boat. It's nice for everybody. And so brightness will be the biggest difference here.
That's really nice. That's a nice galley.
Again, the galley's very nice. There's a step down here again, which helps with headroom. There's lots of ventilation. Again, there is optional increases. Our windows are all safety glass, tempered glass. And one of the nice features of that is maintenance, of course. They're less likely to leak. And it allows us to add openings if you want them.
Okay.
Like if you say, look, I want more cross ventilation here, it's easy for us to install hatches in these windows. Okay. So some people say, I would like some extra hatches here, no problem. Whatever you want, the boat will be yours. Okay. And we'll design the boat your way. You know, so yeah, so we've thrown a lot of features in this boat. Like with any kitchen up, on a liveaboard boat, this isn't enough storage. So when we go down here in the port hall, you'll see how we've added the liveaboard features. So for here, this is sort of like your comfort kitchen area. Full-size dishwasher, by the way. People tell me all the time, oh, I don't want a full-size dishwasher. So yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's the best place storage you'll ever have.
Yeah.
Even if you never turn it on, it's a nicer way to stow plates and have access to plates than any other any cabinet we can build. Yeah. Can't compete with that. It's really fantastic.
And there's 2 sinks?
Yes, there's 2 sinks.
That's very important to me to have two sinks.
Yes.
And it baffles me that so many boats have
Well, we just built a boat for a professional chef, and you wouldn't know his boat was a boat when you stepped through that door. You feel you just walked into like a high-end galley kitchen, because he's got a bank of fridges there. He's got 4 sinks, because when he's cooking, stuff is flying, and he's got specialty burners everywhere. I mean, it is a floating gourmet kitchen, and it's his boat. I mean, selling that boat one day could be interesting.
Yeah.
It's not the typical boat.
And that's an ice maker, I'm assuming?
This is an ice maker. In the newer boat, that's actually changed. The newer boat, there's some cabinetry change over here to create a bigger landing for a television up on that wall there. So that's a little bit different in terms of our layout. But again, the layouts can all be changed anyway. So this is an option. A lot of people like these interface screens because they're completely adaptable. In other words, you can have the adjustability in terms of working with your electronics any way you want, or you can go with a traditional exposed breaker type setup. The nice thing about this is if the display ever did give you any trouble, it is very easy to get back here and manually work all your systems as well. And of course, I think it's a little bit of a gimmickry, but of course everything's Wi-Fi enabled these days. So if you want, you can run everything on your device, your phone or your iPad or that stuff. I personally am not a big fan. I've got owners that are saying, "Oh, my Fusion radio, I'm working off my cell phone," right? I'm saying, my attitude is, "Are you serious? I'm on the boat. I'm on the boat, and I'm sitting at the helm. I want to turn the volume down. I don't want to reach for my phone. I mean, I want to reach for a dial and turn the volume down." But people are so in love with this, these touchscreen stuff. They want to check their fuel tanks and all that. And go, come on. Now, we do sell a system that if you are the kind of traveler that abandons your boat regularly in foreign ports, I have a whole different opinion. It's a good idea to have us install the system that you can go on your phone and say, are my bilge pumps running? Because the boat moved. There's value in that. But when you're on the boat, I kind of get a kick out of someone.
Can't walk 5 feet to turn something.
The clients I'm making fun of know me and I know them, and they know if they see this video that they know who I'm joking about. That they're walking around the boat playing with their boat on their iPad, and I'm just going, oh my God, you're on the dumb boat. The screen is right here. What are you doing standing right there adjusting it here? Anyway, so it's all very good though. So good robust system. You can also see the access for hydraulic steering. You know what most people get more impressed with? Because again, shore power and power on boat, most boats are underwired. They're not wired adequately. They're built with cheap wiring harnesses, and so these boats are pretty impressive in terms of their ability to manage all systems. So because we're a twin volt system, so obviously there's my 230 volt unit and there's my 120 volt charger. And by the way, it's all done with automatic regulators on this boat. So it's not like you're flicking 1,000 switches. We just plug in the boat. And
you plug in the boat and it knows.
It knows. It tells us what we've got going on, what kind of system it's running. So what I'm going to do is descend down. This boat, by the way, is a 3-cabin layout, so it's essentially a typical liveaboard scenario. You've got twin aft cabins. Those aft cabins, you can see these are the same. They're standard thwartship bunk, but you could do them, head up more or less with a much bigger bed. You lose some storage when you do that, or you can do twin beds. So you can do a lot there. Because the boat's equipped for liveaboard, extra for refrigeration and freezer. But obviously we can put twice as many in as well. But you can have all freezer, all fridge. This is a pretty good setup. So this augments the refrigeration you already have in the galley. So for liveaboard, you have that capacity. This is one of the bigger changes we made. We don't like everybody having to get down on their knees to look for foodstuffs when they're preparing dinner. So we designed a pantry that's very accessible. So even the drawers come out, so I can just find things this way. I don't need to be reaching to the back of the drawer to locate things in the pantry.
That's good.
Yeah. So lots of pantry space. I also have 24 bottles of wine. You know what they call that in France? A good start.
A good start.
So once we get to this section, we're designing, and we used a woman to indicate what we wanted to do for storage. So more hanging closets. Women tend to like hanging closets more. Personally, I couldn't care less. I'll stuff everything in a drawer and a ball. And this closet space up forward has got jewelry drawers and additional space, particularly for that kind of. Yeah, I really, by the way, we'll never use these latches again. I think latches really matter, and because this was our demo and we didn't have the time for the input we wanted, they used a latch they've used before, but that's a clothes grabber. You know what I mean?
It's a gouger.
Yeah,
Catch my tip on it.
so they're good quality, but
They're pretty.
yeah.
But you're right. If I was stumbling around, I'd catch my
Yeah.
thigh.
So the boats we're building today, we've
Different
made
latches.
a nice change on that.
510s,
The new 510. Yes.
Is it going to be higher here as well?
Not a lot higher. It will be a bit higher. The windows will be a bit bigger. Again, when you're building an offshore boat, remember this is that compromise, and you want to compromise in the right space. The bridge deck clearance on this boat is substantial.
Okay.
And for that reason, if you go to this 3-cabin layout, you do not have standing room here.
Yeah.
But remember, it's not living area. As the owners of these boats will point out to you, and I've traveled on the boat enough, you really, really only go there to go to bed.
Yeah.
That's the only time is you get up here to go. So we've got a guy who's a height tester here.
The demo.
You're a demo.
Yeah, your demo.
You're the demo. How
Yeah.
can you
You're the
sit
height
straight up?
tester.
Yeah, I'm a high tester. It's good.
Yeah, but again, as I said, this area is really, you come up here to go to bed.
Right.
You know, if you go now, so this forward cabin has an option of being 2 cabins, and there's 2 different versions of the 2 cabin. On the first version, there's a bulkhead here, so you still have a huge bedroom, but then that would become like a captain's quarters. Or if you want no headroom issues, the simple solution is to make these into 2 large cabins, and by going to 2 large cabins, there's no longer headroom. The beds are athwartship,
Yeah.
and access to the beds and everywhere else is all here.
Down here where I am.
Yeah. So it depends on your issue. What you're trying to do.
I like this bed.
Are these drawers?
No, this is actually the main bulkhead of the boat, so that's just treatment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Every boat's a little different. Again, keep in mind, as I've been saying, the boat semi-custom, there's multiple wood choices on this boat. Not just the layout of the boat, but also
Walk in.
the finishes. So a lot of adjustment. It's very different.
So you have obviously got choices of wood staining.
Yeah, absolutely. There's multiple wood choices and staining and you want a gloss finish or sand. There's a lot of ventilation in here. As you can see, there's 5 overhead hatches. You've got cross ventilation. I'll show you what we've done over here. So again, the shower, because this is the master suite, the shower is bigger.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So this is on the starboard
Yeah,
side.
we're on the starboard side.
And so this is where your head is.
Yeah, so you've got some.
Did they not? Is it not this builder that used to have a his and hers bathroom where there was a bathroom on both sides at one time?
It's available today.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
We saw that at a boat show years ago.
Yeah. If you want to, you can have this exact same setup here with the extra sinks. There's a refrigerator in here. There's a refrigerator
So
in
you don't
here.
have to go out to everywhere where everybody
Well,
else is getting a drink.
I sold a boat to a woman one time, her and her husband, and she was a psychologist, and she taught me something about living on a boat that most people don't stop to consider, and that is human beings are always seeking privacy, all of us. We don't even know why we said, I'll walk the dog when you don't need to walk the dog, or I'll go to the store and do.
Yeah.
We don't even know it ourselves, but we are always seeking some privacy. And for a livable project to succeed, it's very important that you consider this in the boat you buy, that you have a space, and it can't be, if the bed touches 4 or 3 walls, it's a bad bed for that kind of environment. Because if you want to get away from everybody for an hour or even a day or even 2 days, going into a dark, small cabin won't solve the problem. But something bright like this, an area like this, will make your travels much more successful because it'll be a sanctuary for you to sort of regroup.
Yeah.
You read your books, watch your TV shows, just sort of, set the reset button and then go back out into the world. And that's the biggest strength of this layout, more than any other thing. It's not, it's the psychological comfort of it that is really powerful. And that's why I recommend this to people, even though maybe the 4-cabin version might be a little more practical for some people. I tell people to consider that. If they're saying, I'm going to live on the boat and sail around the world, this is where the value is.
I'm going to go in the shower.
again, like in the other rooms, there's your head.
Totally interrupted there.
That's okay.
So there's
Except if you wake up and
well,
back here and then there's alarm going.
yeah, and you can have 2 sinks here as well if you prefer, but I didn't build this boat with a sink here because I thought there should be some work surface.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Since there's 2 sinks anyway,
there's 2
why
sinks
have
anyway.
3 sinks and no work surface?
Right.
The guy who designed the systems going into the boat has made sure everything's accessible. And as we both know, the black boxes, I'll call them, for all of your technology are something you're going to tinker with more than most things. And you update. You know, within a couple of years you're going to be updating. There's going to be a better chart plotter system or whatever. This mirror removes very easily. I'm standing right here and everything is not under or around something. I'm standing and I can reach in and work on everything. Like all that technology. So it's really, really user friendly for servicing. Yeah. Let's shoot throughout the boat.
Storage, of course.
More storage, there's endless storage, you know, a lot of deep storage.
Wow, that's really cool.
Well, you know,
Yeah, so the toilet and the sink is in there. That's why there's only 2 sinks.
yeah. The boat has extensive storage, but if you're living aboard, it's only half as much as you need. You're never going to get enough storage.
Yeah.
So let me go under this floorboard. I'll show you this first. There's your washer dryer.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But let me show you one of the, just to give you an idea, when I talk about commercial systems, I think people get it when you talk about the electrical system because it's so robust, it's not what you see on a recreational boat. But, so let's talk about plumbing for a minute because everybody understands better electrical. But the plumbing really matters on a boat. And I'll tell you, every boat in the show is using a daisy chain system where they've got one feeder line going through the boat and with, you know, lines branching off to service various sinks, appliances, whatnot. The way this boat is done, again, commercially, is every appliance, every sink has a dedicated line that's branched off these manifolds. So when that solenoid in the toilet fails, all I have to do is come down and turn off that line.
That line.
And
you can
isolate
work on
that
it.
and keep everything else pressurized.
Right.
And there's a second benefit for this. A lot of boat owners develop water leaks. It's a normal course of action. Boats are getting pounded, leaks show up. But with the traditional setup, it's very hard to find the leak sometimes.
Yeah.
With this, it's super easy because I can start isolating.
Shut off one, it's still got a leak, shut
I
off
can
one, and
find-
yeah.
So this is why the commercial boats build their
Yeah,
boats
it's very
this way.
robust.
So it's very robust. It's very smart, and
Solid.
yeah, it's just a great way to build a boat. You know, like I say, it took 51 weeks to build this boat, and a typical production 50-foot boat these days is built in 45 days.
Yeah.
There's a reason it takes longer to build this kind of boat. You know.
There's one more cabin.
This is another off cabin, and on this boat at least it's identical to the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, perhaps we could have been a little bit more clever and done a different configuration, but you know.
So your shower's on this side and your
And the
toilet
head is on this
that's
side.
on this
That's right, because the boat also comes with a gas grill back here. It's not installed on this boat yet. This boat actually was being built for a boat show for the last year's Miami show.
Okay.
And we were going to be missing the show if we didn't get the boat finished in time.
So
So,
you got-
we started crossing things off our wish list.
Yeah, there
and
you
we
didn't
never
use-
got around to getting the sink put in. The grill's not installed. But an electric grill on a boat is a nice thing to have because when you're in really heavy winds and you're a meat eater,
Yeah.
it's nice to just turn on the electric grill. And a lot of people want no gas in their boats.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely,
Yeah.
you can clearly generate your own electricity. You can't generate your own propane or your
Yeah,
own.
that's right. That's right. So it is actually a pretty nice feature. to have
That is great. The price for this boat.
Yeah,
and they
the
get
real
quoted
price.
800,000, but then when you shut off camera,
I
did you
agree.
want a water meter? Well, that's cool. Do you want to go in?
So again, remember the pricing.
Okay, let me just, talking about pricing on the...
Talking about pricing this boat is always a little challenging because of the flexibility we offer. So I like to start by saying, you know, a very well-equipped liveaboard boat right now, based on the current currency, would cost in US dollars about 1.6 to 1.7. You can obviously spend less, but you can easily spend more. But really, if you're trying to say, I want a boat where I need to just bring aboard my personal effects and sail away, if you're thinking in that 1.6, 1.7 range, you're going to be very, very well.
Great. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome back to Cruising Off Duty.
Hello, everyone.
As you saw, we just saw the Privilege 5 series. A little confusing there because it's called the 500, but the new boat that should be out by the time you are ready to buy would be the 510.
Right.
Which is actually still a 50-foot boat. So there's a little confusion there in the numbering, but we got it figured out by the end. So, starting with you, what did you think of the boat?
Many things. I first saw this boat at Annapolis, I guess it was within 5 years ago. Our first year there, I think.
Yeah.
And only ever saw it the one time, but I loved it and I remember it, and I would always look for it again.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't there for a few years. And we kind of wondered what happened to it.
I know.
I guess it was at the Miami show, but not
Right.
at the Annapolis show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like this boat very much. On my list.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels very big. Like the very first clip in this episode, you can see from the corner of the back through the salon. It just looks big. The back salon or the back deck is very open and lots of seating. The table is big and beautiful. It felt very rich, you know, and it connects well to the interior salon. The galley is gorgeous. It's got 2 large sinks, dishwasher.
A full-size dishwasher, too.
Yeah.
Not a little baby one.
And then down below it has lots of cabinetry, pantries, and big fridge freezer. So it's kind of galley half up and half down, but I like that. I like having the cooking station and the place where you're going to spend time to be up, and so that you're looking out the window. The storage and the freezers being downstairs, that's a good compromise.
Well, there was extra fridges downstairs. There were fridges
yeah.
upstairs, but there was extra ones downstairs. And he said you could even have more. This boat is very customizable, so if you were like really into lots of fridge space, you could get more. And there was lots of cabinetry.
Yeah,
he
everywhere.
kept commenting you're going to need more. I was actually surprised. This boat has more cabinets and
Than I've
storage
ever seen.
than
Yeah.
most boats, and he
Yeah.
was downplaying how much it had. And I'm thinking, you know, this is quite a bit for a
Yeah.
50-foot boat.
I'd be
Right?
happy with that.
Yes, we'd be very happy.
I love the master bedroom.
Yes.
The big wide master bedroom. I know it's a little bit low and you got to kind of crouch around the bed, but just how it's so open and wide, it feels like a large bedroom. I'm totally okay with just kind of crouching to sit on the bed. I love
You might
that.
not have to
It's
crouch as
open.
much as like I would.
Very spacious feeling.
Yeah.
And this, you know, with the his and her sides, I got my own like dressing area, my own.
Yeah, the walk-in closet was very impressive. There lots of storage in there too.
And the first time we did see a privilege, it had the 2 bed, the his and her heads on either side.
Yeah.
I don't mind that either.
Yeah, it just seemed like a lot of duplication.
Yeah.
Because then you're having 2 showers and you have two
Yeah, it's a lot
two
to
toilets
clean.
and 2.
Maybe
It's a
I
lot
prefer
of
the
just for one
walk-in closet.
bathroom. Yeah.
All for me.
Yeah, all for you. Well, mostly for you.
Um,
Like he said, men just roll up their stuff and stick it in a drawer, and women want to have all their hanging
Yeah,
stuff,
I like
so.
everything hanging. Even if it's a crappy t-shirt, I like to be able to flip and see it all.
Yeah.
So the bathrooms are beautiful. Everything about this boat is beautiful. All the finishings. It does have a washer and dryer, but goes without saying a boat of this magnitude
price
will
should
have,
probably have that,
a
yeah.
washer and dryer.
Yeah.
So the only, slightly negative for me was the puny princess seat. It did have princess seats, but they were very tiny little square things.
Yeah.
That could probably fit one bum cheek on, but
I told her when we saw that, she commented, I said, there is a bar under that little wooden thing, so we could put just a bigger wooden structure on top of those bars and make a bigger seat. So it's not a deal killer because of your
no,
princess
at least
seats.
it has something.
She's funny.
Or nothing.
The things she picks on are hilarious. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the more like fundamental for sailing things that I liked. So I like the hard windshield. Now he said the new boat's going to have the hard windshield is going to go right up to the bars. There's not going to be any gaps, and you're going to have your bimini. Now the one thing we noticed, now that maybe if it's really as customizable as Robert said, I'd want them to build a hard bimini over the helm, not the canvas stuff. I don't want to have any canvas because it gets fades from the sun and the salt ruins it, and it's just
Hard
gonna
to clean.
Yeah, it'll always look like crap within a year or two of owning the boat. That'll look like garbage, and then you'll have to replace it and keep replacing it every few years. So I'd rather just pay the extra money to have a hard bimini there, but small thing. A big anchor with a big anchor locker with lots of room for lots of chain and other things you could probably stick down there. Canoe boom was nice. We want that. You hear it on the video. We have a in mast furling, and we've had it jam up on us so many times. We are just completely swearing off any sort of furling sail system. As much as it might seem easier and more convenient, just roll your sail in. I'd rather have it just drop down into a sail bag, zip it up, and be done with it.
Yeah,
No chance of it getting
He got
jammed.
caught in a storm once and not able to furl the main one time.
Yeah, the main got stuck out, and the
And,
winds were like howling, and I couldn't get the sail in, and it was really dangerous, really, because you're out there fighting with this thing, trying to figure out why it won't go in and out, and we just won't deal with that.
doing that.
Don't want to do that, so we're not going to. But I like their canoe. He called it a canoe,
Canoe boom.
boom, and then the sail just falls into it, and then you have a sail bag, of course, that you zip closed. Lots of solar options, he said that. So you could get more, but we already talked in the video about how you don't want so much solar thinking that you're never going to run your generator. You always want to at least fire up your generator and put it under load for at least an hour a day, just to kind of top up your batteries, make sure they're good and topped up before you go to bed. And it's just better for the generator to get lubricated, to get used once a day. So yeah, solar is good, but don't go crazy. Don't put like 3,000 watts of solar on there thinking you're never going to use your generator, because you really should use your generator anyway. Dinghy. Now this is the biggest thing I liked. Of course, Robert talked about how it's his favorite feature as well. But yeah, having your dinghy actually sitting on customizably shaped
Like a cradle.
cradle for your dinghy, so you can get a nice heavy dinghy, put it on this cradle, mount it, strap it down so it's not going anywhere, and then you don't have to think about it. Most of the boats these days, they have a dinghy davits that hangs off the back. And you, like he said, you can buy a heavier dinghy if you want one that can really be like your family car and drive around, doing fun things. But the problem is with a really heavy one, if you're hanging it, the attachments on the dinghy could just snap at any moment, and you're in the middle of a storm, you look back and your dinghy's half submerged, being dragged behind your boat. So yeah, I really, really liked that facet. Plumbing system, he showed that. Very industrial, very substantial plumbing system, and I liked how every line has its own shut-off valve right at the one thing. So you go, we have a leak on our boat, we cannot find it. So when he said sometimes you have trouble finding a leak, I know exactly what he's talking about. We don't know where our leak is. It's somewhere where we can't see it.
We've tried to isolate it and
can't figure it out. At least with this, you just turn off your sink to one head. Nope, still leaking. Turn off the toilet. Nope, still leaking. Turn off the other head. Still leaking. Eventually you narrow down where it is, and I think that's awesome. Yes. So I like that as well. The electric grill on the back. Well, there's a gas grill and an electric grill. So if you ever find yourself without propane, you always have a way to barbecue your beef or steak or whatever. Fish, yeah. And that's a nice feature. Well equipped. Now this is the only thing. Well equipped is great. 1.6, 1.7 million is out of our price range. Now it seems like a really, really well built boat, so it's probably worth that money.
Yes. Oh, I think it's worth that.
But it's above what we could afford. Like we can always say in these videos, we can't really afford a lot of these boats brand new, but we always factor in this boat might be 1 million or 1.2 million new, but if we bought a 5-year-old one, could we get it down to where we can afford in the maybe $600,000, $700,000 range, which is what we ballpark our budget will be. But when you're already at 1.6, 1.7, yeah, it's not coming down that much. So it's kind of out of our price range, which is kind of heartbreaking because we really like this boat. There really wasn't much to complain about.
No.
Little nitpicky things that I've already mentioned. So there you go. Probably a boat.
I do love this boat.
Well worth it to those who have a little bit bigger budget and want a solid blue water cruising, world traveling boat. This boat seems
every amenity, like
big enough and has plenty of stuff that's designed for liveaboards, all the storage and all the safety features and all the robustness of it. It seems like a great boat for that. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hopefully you found this entertaining or informative, more likely informative this time. If so, show the channel some love by giving it a thumbs up and
subscribe.
Yeah, until next time, this is Craig.
And Janice.
Signing off. Ciao for now.
Weigh anchor and hoist the sail.